in this lesson, we'll be focused on the strength and weakness. One point that is very important to understand, and I see a lot of people doing wrong, is that they go direct to the SWOT diagram and starting adding information direct to the SWOT diagram. That is the wrong way to do things. We have a process. We have a process to conduct an internal analysis in which you'll be looking for the strengths and weaknesses of the company, and the external analysis in which you'll be evaluating the business landscape and the competitive environment. Going direct to the SWOT analysis diagram is wrong. So how to develop an internal analysis? And that's the focus of this presentation. We have two major methodologies to evaluate the internal resources and skills of a company. One of them is the value chain analysis. The second one is called resource-based view. In the value chain analysis, we try to divide the activities and resources of a company into stages of the business process. We start with the inbound logistics, operations, outbound logistics, marketing, sales, and services. Those are called primary activities. Then we have as well the support activities. And for this type, we have procurement, technology, human resource, and infrastructure. In the inbound logistics, it's important to map and to list all activities that brings materials, parts, components, finished goods to the company. So the inbound logistics means from suppliers to the companies. If it is a manufacturing company, it's components, raw materials, parts that come from the supplier to the company. If it's a retail store, it means that you are bringing finished goods from several suppliers to the retail store. When you talk about operations, we are talking, in operations is a broad term for production, if it's a manufacturing company, and we use the term operations if it's a service company. If it's a service company, we use the term operations because like customer service, you have someone calling, someone answering the call, working on the client request, preparing some kind of client order. So for service companies, we call operations. Usually from manufacturing companies, we call the production processes. Then we move for the outbound logistics. And this is when the company, we are talking about all activities that go take the products that were produced by the company and delivered to the customer, or to deliver to a point of sale close to the customer. That's called outbound logistics. Then we have marketing and sales. Those are all the effort to promote the product and to develop new products, advertising, and all the sales effort. So you may have online e-commerce platforms, you may have retail stores, and maybe door-to-door sales. So those are activities that are considered marketing and sales. Services is usually the activities that are conducted after sales. And those activities is to provide support to customers, answer doubts or answer questions from the customers. The group of support activity, we The first one was the procurement or purchasing. And that is all the activities that a company conduct to acquire resources, components, and supplies so they can use them to do their business. Technology goes, that's a wide area. It goes, if you are in a manufacturing company, you can talk about all the machines, information system, automation. If you are in a service company, we may talk about the information technology, how to receive calls from the customer, how to produce some information and deliver that information to the customer. So technology goes all the way from manufacturing technology, information technology, communication technology. And so there is a wide field of resources that the company should have and should know how to operate in order to compete in the business market. Human resources are all the activities related to bring employees to the company. It's not just to bring employees, new employees, but how to manage the current employees. And here you have, comes from there's the recruitment, we have all the salary policies, well-being of employees, and all the things relate to that, how to give support to the workers to be productive and deliver a good service to the customers. The firm infrastructure is all activities related to maintain the buildings, the infrastructure of the company. Here I talk about buildings, but can be the information technology network, can be the retail stores, and can be if you have trucks and all the machines. So that's the infrastructure. It's important to note that when we are conducting a value chain analysis, we try to identify the firm specific activities. What I mean by specific activities, if I talk about a grocery store, you have to understand the activities of a grocery store. If you talk about an automaker, you have to go there and understand the activities, how to manufacture the car. And so the value chain is just a guide. It's a kind of checklist that you can use to identify activities of the company. And why we do that? Why we do that? We do that so you can list the activities of a company and compare that activities with the industry or other companies in the industry. By comparing, you can see if the company that you are assessing has a better or worse performance than the industry. And that's very important. So first step is always to list the activities. Take the value chain as a checklist and list all the activities and resources of a company. Then you have to identify and list the activities for other companies in the same industry. And you list all the activities. And then compare the performance of the company and the industry. By doing that, you can see if a company has some strength when the performance is better than the industry, or a weakness when the company's performance is worse than the industry. I like to use a table that you are seeing now in this slide to perform the value chain analysis. So I have some empty boxes So if I'm trying to analyze a airline company, so I will be listing activities inside the box relate to the area of that I'm analyzing. If I'm talking about supporting activities, so I'll be listing, I try to identify activities and resource relate to the firm infrastructure. I will try to understand activities relate to the human resource. I will try to understand activities relate to technology. I will try to identify and list activities relate to the procurement. The same thing I usually is recommend to be done on the primary activities. If you have the inbound logistics, you will be listing all the activities and resources that company has to perform the inbound logistics. Then you move for operation. List all the information that the company has to perform the operation. Go on the outbound logistics, marketing, sales, and service. That is the main idea of using that framework. So that is the step one. That's the step one. What is the step two? The step two is do the same thing, but focus on the industry benchmark or on the companies in the industry that have the better performance. And that is the step two. The step two, you are not focused on the company that you are analyzing, but now you are shift your focus to the industry, to the better performers in the industry, and try to list how they do each step of the value chain. And try to understand that. Why we do that. And you go for the third step. And the third step is to compare the company that you are evaluating with the industry benchmark. If your company is doing better than the industry, it is classified as a strength. If the company that you are assessing is the performance is worse than the industry, it is classified as a weakness. And those are the two areas of the SWOT analysis, is the S and W in the SWOT diagram. Okay? That is very important. That's very important to understand. That process from using the value chain to get to the S and W of the SWOT analysis. The second step that is also recommended to follow is to perform a resource-based view analysis. What is a resource-based view analysis? You have identified in the value chain major activities and skills that the company is performing. There, so you have an idea of all activities and resources. Now, on the resource-based view, you'll be evaluating those activities not against the industry benchmark, but try to understand four factors of those activities and resources. You are trying to understand if that activity is valuable, if that activity or resource is rare, if it is difficult to imitate, and if the company is organized to exploit that resource. That is the resource-based view analysis. What do you mean by rare? For value. The resources and capabilities of a company is considered valuable if they deliver some value to the customer. It means that if the customers give some value for that activity, when they are choosing the product. Sometimes a company can put a very nice package for a product, like say, if you are buying rice on a grocery store and you put a nice package with painted and gold and silver, you may say, does the customer give value for the package when they are buying rice? Probably not. So that package does not add value to the customer. That is the extremely strange example, but that's the way you have to think. If the customer, when making the decision for that product, if some resource or some activity has some kind of impact on the customer decision for the product. Rare, or the question of rarity. You have to understand if the company has something that is rare, that is distinct, that's unique in the industry. Because if the company has just the same thing as the other competitors are offering, there is no differentiation. And that a customer can choose the product of the company or may go for the competitor. So therefore, it's important to understand if there is something in the company activities and capabilities that is unique, that is rare in the industry. The third aspect, if the company has activities and capabilities or resources and capabilities that are difficult to imitate. So if you have a restaurant and you have a recipe for doing a dish that's very famous and you make a lot of money for that recipe, if you put that recipe on the internet, any other restaurant can copy that recipe and start selling the same food. Therefore, it's easy to imitate. But if you lock that recipe in a place that nobody can see the recipe, people does not understand the ingredients and the sequence, how you do the dish. Therefore, we make that product that is rare, difficult to imitate. But it's important that the company has resources and capabilities that are difficult to imitate by the competitors. It's always, when you are analyzing a company, it's important to understand that point. Does the company has resources and capabilities that are difficult to imitate or not? And the fourth point, sometimes a company has a valuable resource or capability, a rare resource and capability, and a difficult to imitate resource or capability, but the company is not organized to exploit that resource and capability. And I'll give you a very simple example. A restaurant. You have the best chef in the world working for you. And you ask the guy to do mozzarella pizza, a regular pepperoni pizza. So you have a very valuable resource, rare, excellent chef. Nobody has that. It's difficult for other companies to get excellent chef to prepare the dish. And you ask the guy to do a regular pepperoni pizza. It means that the company is not organized to use the valuable, rare, and difficult to imitate resource. Therefore, the resource-based view is very powerful. It is very powerful. How we do that? So, how Americo, I do my resource-based view. Usually, I start with the value chain analysis. From the value chain analysis, I select some resources and capabilities because I saw those are very important for that in that industry. So I pick some resources and capabilities. And then I perform the resource-based view on those selected resource and capability. That's very important. Some examples, you can find several on the internet, but always what people does, and that's to simplify the analysis, they create a kind of table. In that table, you list organizational resource and capability. Usually those come from a value chain analysis. And then you'll be checking if that resource is valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and if the company is organized to explore. If you go doing that, you can see resources that really give a competitive edge, a sustainable competitive advantage for the company. If you have resources and capabilities that match the four characteristics of the VRIO analysis, probably those are the resources that will give the competitive edge for that company. And here is the table that I usually give to my students to do that. So they list, after doing the value chain analysis, they list some resource and capability that they think are the most critical, the most important for that company. And then they go and try to understand how valuable are that resource and capability to the customers. How rare are those resources and capability? How difficult to imitate they are? And if the company is well organized to exploit that resource. And then they do a short analysis saying, what is the impact in the competitive advantage? If a resource is just valuable or valuable and rare, or if the resource is valuable, rare, and difficult to imitate. So they do a kind of short analysis. And from there, also I have some hints to fill out the strengths and weakness in the SWOT diagram. So it's important that you understand the process, the analytical process to prepare the SWOT analysis. And talking about the internal analysis that will culminate with the strength and weakness, we are using two techniques, the value chain analysis and the resource-based view. Then we move from those two and try to find, if you are using the value chain analysis, the activities and resource in which the company is performing better than the industry. So those resource and capabilities are helping the company performance. Okay, better than the competition. And that we classify that as a strength. If from the value chain analysis you see some resource and capability in which the company's performance worse than the competition, that's an indication that those resources and capability is hurting the company. And that's we classify as a weakness in the SWOT diagram. The same thing, we can get some hints and some insights from the resource-based view. We'll be evaluating if the resource is valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and if the company is organized to exploit. If some of them is just valuable and not rare, I may classify that as a weakness. Okay, and resources that are valuable, rare, difficult to imitate, and the company is organized to exploit, I will call them strength. Therefore, the S and W in the SWOT analysis is the finish line of analytical process that started with the value chain analysis and the resource-based view. You cannot go direct. And again, I'll be repeating that. Don't go direct to the SWOT diagram. Start with the value chain analysis. Start with resource-based view.